Okay, welcome to Live, Breathe Film, episode 101, 101 Dalmatians, slash 101 Live, Breathe Films. You're here with Corey, Doug, and Murph. Thank you for joining us. Today, we're going to be talking about the trend of films being re-released in theaters as a result of the dual strikes, and if we think this will be a continuing thing as we return to a new normal again. In exhibition after recently dealing with theaters struggling with product due to COVID. So things got to normal, and then we went right back to things being weird, and a lot of movies are being put back in theaters that were hits in the past, or they're doing like one night only or one showing events. So we wanted to talk about that a little bit. So yeah, let's dive right into that feature presentation. So have you guys seen any re-releases lately? Because there have been a ton of them.
Yeah, no, I've caught a few. There's a bunch that I've also wanted to catch, and then for whatever reason, at the last minute, didn't actually catch. But one that came to mind was like Tenant. We saw that a month ago or so, month and a half ago.
Yeah, that one
Um,
had like a week or 2 week release. I think it was over a week in IMAX, then it had like another week
yeah,
in normal theaters.
and then The Lighthouse was, I think, the most recent one that I saw as far as a re-release.
Okay, yes, that was one part of A24's partnership with AMC. So it was just like a one showing event where they did in the month of February one film, part of their Lovers series, where every Wednesday they put out one of their films that came out in the past for one showing on a Wednesday night at 7 p.m. At AMC. So I think this February was Pearl, The Lobster, A Ghost Story, and The Lighthouse. So two very different types of re-release strategies. Um, is that it on your end, Corey? I feel like
We have
yeah,
a couple in the chamber, but
yeah,
none that I think those are the most recent ones. Ex Machina, I was gonna go see, didn't make it, unfortunately. Um, Another A24 Jam.
yeah, and that's another different interesting type of series. That's like a monthly partnership with IMAX, where once a month, for one showing, they're putting out a film remastered in IMAX. Ex Machina was the first one for the month of March. Then Hereditary is in April, and Uncut Gems is in May. And this is going to be a year for now. We know we're getting one film a month for 12 months. Um, we don't know what the next 9 films are after these initial 3, but maybe some of them will overlap with the ones that AMC have put out, because they did a series back in October too. AMC and A24 partnered for their AMC's Thrills and Chills series, and they put out 4 different films at that point. Then and then they revived it again in February, as we talked about. So since most of the AMC, almost all IMAXs are in AMC's, I don't know how much overlap there'll be, but be cool to see some of those films that they did already put out in IMAX, like an Under the Skin or Midsommar, something that would look visually stunning on an IMAX screen. Um, but yeah, we can get more into that probably in a little bit. But Psycho, Corey, saw that earlier this year. Another type of re-release that was where it was like an independent movie theater doing their own series, because they hit their 100-year milestone of being in business. So they put out each weekend, what was it, like 1 of 4 films from
Yeah.
each decade, spanning the 2010s, all the way back to the 1920s for their centennial weekend. So that was pretty cool. So, I mean, I caught a few films from that. I saw Psycho, Casablanca, and Citizen Kane. Um, and it made me have a newfound appreciation for Casablanca in particular. Ended up watching it again, like basically that same weekend on Max, and then bought the 4K. My Best Buy 4 Best Buy home video purchase ever. Now that they are out of the biz,
Was it a
it
steelbook?
was not a steelbook.
Nope.
It was just a normal 4K. But I was happy to grab that before they shut their home video doors. And ironic because it was a movie about an expatriate, and the first movie I ever remember buying at Best Buy was The Patriot on DVD.
Classic.
Yes, classic. So I thought that was kind of fitting. That one dealt with a patriot, one with an expatriate, one's during Revolutionary War, one's during World War II, and two awesome movies. Very different movies, but they have some similarities. Doug, have you gotten a chance to catch anything, or have you been seeing any of the new releases this year? And I mean, I know you saw Dune Part 2. We talked a lot about that in our last episode.
Yeah, I haven't really seen anything this year outside of Dune Part 2. And re-release, it's got to be like something that I didn't see in theaters that I really wanted to see, or something that I saw in theaters that I really liked. I think the last re-release I saw was when they re-released E.T.
Okay.
That's not one that I saw in theaters.
That was in summer of 2022.
I saw Jurassic Park.
Didn't you see Avatar when they re-released it? Or
No.
did you miss that one?
Yeah,
I thought you might have just wanted to go back and see it again because you love all the flying and the magic, especially in 3D.
No, I figured I was gonna see the better the more updated one with 2, so I didn't feel like I need to go back to the first one.
Fair enough. When Way of Water was a much better film, so.
Actually, did I rewatch the first one? I don't think I saw it in 3D in theaters, but I might have rewatched it on TV or something.
On like Disney Plus.
Wait.
Shortly before.
Maybe I did see Avatar.
You totally saw it in theaters. I'm pretty sure you did.
Now that you're saying it, I kind of like have a memory of watch. Yeah, I don't remember like.
I feel like you did.
Why did I do that? I probably did. I don't remember why.
Because you wanted to see the 3D again. I mean, if you're gonna watch Avatar, the only way you should watch it is in theaters in 3D.
3D, yeah.
Like it's not a movie meant to watch at home. No. Maybe Way of Water works better, like than the first one on like a nice 4K TV, just because it's a more engrossing story. But otherwise, yeah, the first one really, it's like I'll catch that one again in theaters, but otherwise I'm good with like never watching it again.
Yeah, I can't remember. It's possible I saw the first one again in theaters.
Okay. All right. So yeah, I mean, this year it seems like you were doing a lot of catching up on the 2023 films, like renting films like nonstop or streaming them.
Yeah, and I saw Zone of Interest is out, so I need to catch that one.
Yeah, that's on Max.
That was my big miss. So now that's out, I just sit down on the couch, I turn on the TV, and I scroll down the Zone of Interest, and I'm like, nah, I'm not in the mood.
Understand? Yeah, it's a one you got to be in a mood for.
That's totally. The problem is where it's like, I just kind of want to watch something fun.
Yeah, understandable. And that's definitely not the definition of fun. So, yeah. Okay. All right. So re-releases, not so much your jam. I've definitely seen a lot since the strikes as far as re-releases go. Let me see. I got Beetlejuice. I saw that was like a one night showing in Dolby Cinemas back in, I guess, October, around Halloween. Similar to how Corey mentioned The Lighthouse, I did catch The Witch back when AMC did their A24 series in October. So I saw both Robert Eggers films outside of The Northman that I had never seen. I saw both of those for my first time in theaters as well, so I've now caught up on his filmography before Nosferatu hits later this year, which I heard some news come out about that today at CinemaCons. I didn't get a chance to read about it, but I'll read about that later today. What else was there? Scarface, I call it. That was a Fathom event. Fathom events are always an interesting thing because they're like, they do like 3 showings on 2 different days, but it's excluded from A-list. So it's like, fuck you. Like, I would love to see more of these films, but I do not want to pay money for them. It's much easier when I'm seeing a movie at AMC and I don't have to pay extra. But I did catch Scarface for the 40th anniversary because Fathom is, for the most part, all about anniversary releases. The Abyss special edition in Dolby. That was to promote the 4K coming out. James Cameron did a little introduction for that, not in person. But I think that was just a one showing type deal. Die Hard, again, kind of going through the different types of re-releases. Die Hard, that one got like, I guess, a couple weeks at least, and caught that one in Dolby. This year, I think I've seen more re-releases than new releases, which is pretty fucking weird.
Yeah.
Like I call it the 3 Pixar movies that they put out, which it's their first wide release, but they all had they all played in theaters in California at one point in order to be eligible for Academy Awards and shit like that. But it was my first time being able to see those in theaters. Some of those other ones that I mentioned, I think, it was the first time I ever saw Die Hard, The Abyss, Scarface, and Beetlejuice in theaters. All films that I've seen before, but wanted to see again, or wanted to finally see in the theater. I mentioned that those films that were part of that movie theater, the Lafayette Theater's 100th anniversary. Tenet, as Corey mentioned, which was basically a way to get Tenet back in theaters because it came out during the pandemic, and Nolan wanted to kind of use it as a way to also help Denis Villeneuve promote Dune Part 2. So that had an exclusive clip of it. So, Corey, we saw the original Dune. That was another re-release.
Oh yeah, we did. Yeah,
that one was originally just a one showing IMAX re-release, and then it did so well that they threw it back in again, like as a regular re-release with tons of show times. But that had a different exclusive clip of Dune Part 2. That had the sandworm scene, while Tenet had the first scene with where Paul reunites with fucking his buddy Josh Brolin's character. I can't think of his name at the moment. Not Duncan Idaho. He's dead. Spoiler. My bad.
Gurney Halleck.
Gurney Halleck. And then I saw Pi, Darren Aronofsky's film for Pi Day. A24 put that out and just on Pi Day in independent theaters. Yeah, mentioned Ex Machina. Got Hereditary and Uncut Gems. We already got those tickets locked up on A-list. And then got a couple more coming up. Memento. Seeing that in 35 millimeter at a movie theater in New York City, that they're doing this thing with collaboration with the Academy Museum, where each branch of the Academy have picked a film to be shown at here or at the Paris Theater for one showing. And if this Memento was selected by the producers branch, I know it's going to have a special guest there doing the intro. Not sure who it is, but that'll be sick because I've never caught Memento in theaters. And then Magnolia, we got tickets for Paul Thomas Anderson. There's another independent theater by us doing movies from 1939 versus 1999, since those are 2 seminal years for film. Mm-hmm. And that was one that Corey has never seen before, and a huge fan of it. Don't have it on video because it hasn't gotten like a proper release as far as I'm concerned, where it's worthy of like Criterion type of release. And um, I haven't seen it in a long time, so I wanted to catch that again. So there's been a lot, as I've just mentioned. We know Shaun of the Dead is coming out for its 20th anniversary. Edgar Wright just announced that. That's getting a remaster, a Dolby remaster. So there's going to be a lot more this year. And like at the moment, I'm more hyped about these re-releases than I've been about the new releases this year, because until the month of March, there really wasn't much coming out. I mean, we'll get to the new releases when we talk about our winter spring box office draft, but I've absolutely seen better movies from the re-releases, because they're generally classics, than I have from the films that have come out so far in 2024, and the leftover films that I hadn't seen yet in 2023 that I caught in theaters in early 2024, which there were a lot of bangers, like Poor Things, and I caught Oppenheimer again one last time, and some other ones. But enough about me and what I've seen. Ultimately, based on what I'm saying, it seems like there's a lot of different ways these theaters are going about their releases, whether they're just like one night events, one screening only events, whether they have some incentive to see it, such as bonus footage, or footage from another film like Dune and Tenet having footage from Dune Part 2, or Ex Machina having footage from Civil War, since those are both from the same director, Alex Garland. And then Tenet, we got like a film, IMAX 70 millimeter collectible film strip. There's been like cool incentives to going to see some of these films. With the Pixar films, they were ones that went straight to Disney Plus, but then now they're finally getting a wide release in theaters. They're not making tons of money, but they are filling up a good amount of seats, despite the fact that they're not like rolling in the dough. Like, as we've been busting Corey's balls because he drafted all three Pixar films in his draft. The three combined have made like $4 million. But for each one I saw, there were other people in the theater. Each theater kept getting smaller each time I saw one of them. So each one appeared more crowded than the previous one. Yeah, then you have ones that just do straight up full re-releases, like for a couple weeks in theaters and at least a couple weeks, or based on how successful they're doing. But do you think they bring enough value to theaters where they're going to continue to do this after we get a post return to normal situation, where there's a bunch of movies, a bunch of blockbusters coming out on the reg? Or do you think we're still going to get regular re-releases? Like, we're getting Star Wars Episode 1 in May. May is typically when theaters are dropping mega releases, and that's something coming out around the same time as Furiosa and The Fall Guy, Planet of the Apes. So there's a bunch of other movies coming out that month. But what do you think? Do you think they bring value? You think this is going to be a regular thing moving forward?
I hope it ends up being a regular thing, only because now, since the landscape has changed with streaming, people, being conditioned now after the pandemic to waiting for VOD, it's a good incentive to get people back in the theater. It's also, I know it's being used right now to fill in gaps when, there's, nothing playing in the theaters. But I think if they continue to use it also as in a celebration of a certain movie, come and see Casablanca in IMAX, or I don't, bring out these films that are classics that people, have a lot of love for, and they're just a huge fan base. and even small fan bases. And then, you know, people will want to experience those in the theaters. I think so. I know I will. Like, there's certain movies that I see that are getting re-released that I absolutely love. I would love to see that movie in theaters.
Yeah,
So,
like another one interesting re-release strategy was Spider-Man Mondays, which is I think starting this coming Monday, where every Monday one of the live action Spider-Man movies is coming out, and then they've added screenings because like they were selling so many tickets for them. Um, Depends on the movie. It was clearly was heavily leaning on the Raimi movies selling the most tickets um, versus ones that had just came out fairly recently. But I mean, that's 8 movies that are being re-released over the span of 8 weeks. Whether they do just one showing or they add more, um, I don't know how common that would be, but yeah,
I think it's a way to, you know, kind of bring, and obviously bring people back into the theater, but, you know, kind of pull back what we had, like, even as kids, where, you know, there were movies being re-released all the time, you know, older films.
mm-hmm.
I think that there's a market for people that want to watch those movies, you know, in theaters, even though they've watched it a million times, you know, at home. I think there is a market for it.
Yeah, I mean, we have to face reality that not as many people go to movie theaters anymore.
Yep.
So they should cater to cinephiles to a degree, where
Mm-hmm.
it's not just the independent theaters, the Alamo Draft Houses, and these other ones that I've mentioned throughout this episode for um, certain films. We're seeing a lot, the majority of them, seeing at AMC, where they weren't too big on re-releases for most of my life outside of Fathom events, which again are specialty releases where it's a completely different type of strategy than these. Um, but Doug, I know you're a kind of a doomsday guy as far as the future of theatrical. Um,
I'd say doomsday. I just don't think, I think this model is fine because it's a gap filler, right? There's not a lot of
yes,
movies to show.
yeah,
They've got an option of, do we just let these theaters sit empty, or do we show something and try to get butts and seats? And I think
Mm-hmm.
it makes complete sense to me. I think as a go forward strategy, my concern is that you are gearing it towards more of like the cinephile. Like, I don't think your everyday average audience member is going to go out to the movie theaters for re-releases. I think it's more of your person that really is a cinema lover or a cinephile. So I guess I question, like, it's fine to do it every now and then, but I question, they've got to be able to get audience, like bigger audience members into seats with newer theatrical movies, or to me, it's not sustainable, the current amount of theaters we have. I think theaters will continue to close if that's where we wind up, then that's fine, and maybe then we're in a scenario where, we can do the re-releases more because the footprint's smaller, and so you're attracting cinephile. Like, the cinephiles could actually fill up the theaters in a more meaningful way. But I don't know. I think, to me, that you need to be able to drive more than just the cinephile if you want to keep the status quo of theaters that we currently have.
yeah. I mean, I totally agree with you. I think it needs to be a meet in the middle type situation. Um, like as far as I'm concerned, the days of like re-releases that last where a movie is re-released and it's in theaters for a couple weeks or a month or whatever, like that's kind of dead. It's only going to make so many millions of dollars, not a lot. We're not seeing a Star Wars special edition type of re-release ever again in our life where it's making $100+ million. They did that. They had its last gasp, but where it was like a pretty big thing was like the 3D re-release period, in like the late 2000s, early 2010s, where they were actually like getting high grosses on these re-releases because 3D was so huge at the time. People didn't have 4K TVs yet. Streaming wasn't a thing
That's to
yet.
me the big difference maker is like the 4K TVs and all that. Like, if you think about what TVs used to be and what watching a movie at home used to be versus the theater, there was this. I mean, there's still a difference, but it's gotten a lot closer.
Yeah.
Like the quality difference disparity isn't what it used to be.
For sure. But I think even when things do return to normal, I think it would be very valuable to continue doing these like one night only re-releases, because you're going to get a lot of these ones that are just like one showing. They're almost like all sold out. Like that auditorium is practically sold out, like for the majority of the ones that I've seen. While a movie, some middle budget type film, like not a major blockbuster or anything, is when I go see one of those, it's like there's three other people in the theater. There's always going to be films like that. So I would think it would be more prudent for these theaters to just to do one less showing of that film in prime time,
Yeah.
one weekday, and get a ton of people into the theater for that night, for that showing. Yeah, it like you look at the numbers and it means ultimately dick as far as like its box office total for the re-release, but it's getting a fuck ton of people into a movie theater that night that wouldn't have been in a movie theater that night, and they're buying snacks and all that kind of stuff, which is helping the movie theater.
Yeah, I think the key is going to be they can't overdo it. Like
Yeah,
the one night only I think makes sense. Or if like you just don't have like no one's going to the theater anyway because you don't have a movie to show to fill in seats. Like yeah, why not? What do you have to lose by showing another movie and hoping that you drum up excitement by showing another movie? So I mean
yeah,
I get that.
whether it's to promote like a returning franchise, or something that's about to come out on 4K to promote that release, or if it's
But
just
ideally
an
like
anniversary, like a milestone year, or if they do some sort of enhancement to the film where it's remastered and it's in IMAX, or it's in um, 3D,
yeah.
or it's in Dolby, some sort of premium experience
That's what I was gonna say is like give me something
that you
new.
can't, like something that you can't get at home.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if it's like a special collectible, or
Or yeah,
they
giving
did
out
something
a
different to,
gimmick,
yeah,
yeah, giving out a gift,
just
something
like
like that.
yeah, just something where you're getting more than just the movie. I think could drum up interest.
Yeah, because that's
I
kind of
don't.
what I was gonna say, was like what would actually get, because you're someone who wouldn't necessarily run out to a re-release. I mean, you said if it was something you've never seen before, like what are some things that would get you to go see a re-release? You were kind of getting to that point.
Yeah, I mean, I think like a cool collectible for something I like would be interesting. I know you just call it a gimmick, but if it's like
Yeah, gimmick,
this
what wasn't the word I meant,
yeah,
but I
I mean,
did
it is
see
a
what
little
you
bit
meant.
of a gimmick.
It's an
But if it's
incentive.
something where it's like, it's a collectible that you're not going to ever be able to get again outside of like on eBay for a marked up price, and it's like Back to the Future, like Back to the Future is an example, right? Did they have like a clock tower or something they gave out, or I didn't see that in
Um,
theaters, but didn't they give you guys something cool
They gave
for Back to
us,
the
we
Future?
got like a poster. Yeah,
Okay,
clock tower poster. I
yeah,
don't know.
so that was neat.
this wasn't even a this was just promoting the re-release. Like it was just a flyer, which I thought was
Okay,
fucking sick. What we actually got when we saw it was a full-size poster,
Yeah.
okay.
which I have framed elsewhere in my home.
Yeah, and I've got still, and I'm sure you guys do too, like the paperweight we got when we saw the Dark Knight trilogy.
Funny
I
enough,
thought that was cool.
We had an earthquake, and that was one of the 2 items that fell in my house. So it's a very light paperweight. The fact that that was the only other item that fell was a Funko Pop.
But that was, I thought, cool. I don't know. Yeah, just give me like a collectible, or give me like a scene that I haven't seen before, or give me like I don't know if seeing it in 3D for the first time would really be like life changing for me.
What about you?
Even like
what about tickets? Like if it's like I see like some of them that I've seen have been only like $5 tickets.
No, I'd rather get something I can't.
Yeah,
that doesn't matter to me. I don't know if it's because I like don't have kids, and so
yeah, exactly.
I feel like that's also tough in general now, because so many moviegoers, at least moviegoers that have AMCs, have a list, and it just like it doesn't even matter at that point.
Yeah. To me, like, if I'm going to the theater, it's not because of like cheapness or convenience, right? Because a lot the movie I can probably rent for like $1.99, or may own it and can watch it at home. So like I'm already contemplating paying for something, probably more for something to see it in the theater. So I'd rather, probably like a sweetener would get me out more. Just
like I've gotten mini poster, like the Abyss came with a mini poster. Beetlejuice came with a magnet. The Witch and the Lighthouse both came with a free month of A24's membership.
Not a movie, but I bought the Foo Fighters CD, which I wasn't even listening to CDs at that point. Maybe that was 10 years ago. I think because it came with a little strip from the recording, the recorded record that they cut up and put. Yeah. So that, I mean,
cool.
I bought something that I knew I wasn't going to listen to it on that format, just because it came with like a little collectible.
Something neat. Like the Tenet film strip is fucking really cool. And I got one.
Oh yeah, I think that's what I was kind of made me think about it. It was that Tenet film strip that. Yeah, that's cool too that they did that. So
I got one in the past when I saw Once Upon a Time in Hollywood in 35 millimeter at Alamo Drafthouse. And it's cool now looking at like those two, like a 35 millimeter one and then an IMAX 70 millimeter one, like side by side, and seeing like the massive difference. Like, oh wow, these film strips really are so much larger. The IMAX 70 millimeter ones. But yeah, okay. So it sounds like giving like some sort of an incentive, whether it's a physical one or a something visual.
Yeah, because like I said, I feel like I can see it at home.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be exactly the same, but it's going to be pretty dang close. I'm not going to have to leave my house. So, but yeah, if there was like if there was some sort of like little collectible or something, that would probably be really tempting for me.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair. And then otherwise, it's like if it's a classic movie that you've never like seen in a theater,
that I've never seen, and that I've been dying to see
like an ET, or if it's maybe if it was Avatar, because it's an experience, that movie, seeing it in 3D versus
the 3D you can't replicate. Yeah.
Okay. For me, I mean, it's typically like if it's one of my favorite films and I've never gotten a chance to see it in the theater. If it's a film I've never seen that I've wanted to see and it's playing in a theater, I'd rather have that opportunity to see it there than watching it at home. If I'm not really I'm not really paying for it again because I'm on a list for most of these movies. I mean, some of them I'm paying for. Memento, paying for going into the city, but it's seeing it in 35 millimeter. So that's like a cool way to see the film. And I want to see all of Christopher Nolan's films in theaters. before all is said and done. This crosses another one off the list. But yeah, I mean, and then if it's a movie I have seen in theaters, if you throw it in theaters again, but it's in a format I didn't get to see it in previously, I'm gonna jump at the opportunity to see that if it is again like a movie that I truly love. Like what was, I guess Jaws would be a recent example. I saw a re-release of that back in 2015, a Fathom event re-release, but then when they put it back in theaters in the summer of 2022, but in IMAX for the first time, I saw it in IMAX because it's one of my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah.
They also put a 3D re-release, but I didn't catch that. Since I chose IMAX over 3D. So yeah, I'd say there's a lot of different variables that get me to see these films, but I typically, for the most part, won't go see a film multiple times like re-released already and re-released again in like a digital format with no incentives. I think maybe the only one I have is The Dark Knight, just because I kind of will always catch The Dark Knight when it's in theaters around me. Even though it's vastly superior in IMAX 70 millimeter than if you go watch it in digital. It's like, wait a second, so much is being cut off. It's weird to watch it, to go back and watch it that way. It's actually better to watch it at home when it expands to the IMAX size. All right, and then is there any re-releases that you like are dying to see? Any ones that we know are coming up, or anyone that you are hoping comes up? What would you really want? What would really get you out to the theater to check out?
I mean, I'm definitely looking forward to the A24 re-releases that are coming up. With those specifically, I'm interested to see what else from their catalog, because they haven't announced everything. They've only announced April and May, I guess, at this point. So I'm gonna want to see the rest of them, regardless of what they are. Most likely. So
because none of them have likely played in IMAX before. So
so that
even if you have seen it in a theater, like Uncut Gems, we saw it in a theater. If it was just in theaters again as a normal release, I wouldn't be seeing it again in theaters.
Right.
I would watch my 4K at home, but it's playing in IMAX. I'm gonna go check it out.
Yeah, that's one that I definitely I'm interested in. I'm trying to think of some other ones.
Are you going to see episode 1 in theaters? Is that like, because that's been re-released. It was re-released in 3D back in like 2012, I think.
I think I will, just because it's been a long time since I've seen it in theaters, and that's going into IMAX, right? That's an IMAX re-release.
I think it's just normal theaters.
Okay. Yeah, I might just want to see that. They're not doing any of the other ones as far as we know yet, right?
No, I think it's just that one because it's the 25th anniversary. Like last year, they put out Return of the Jedi in May for the 40th anniversary.
Yeah, there's definitely some other ones that I saw, and I can't put my finger on exactly what they were.
Well, it's heavily rumored Interstellar will be back in theaters.
That was one that we talked about
for the 10th anniversary. Shaun of the Dead we've talked about. Pacific Rim just announced that one. Again, I saw Shaun of the Dead in theaters. I've seen Interstellar in theaters, but I'm pretty sure Shaun of the Dead will be in Dolby. Never saw it in Dolby. And then Interstellar, I just want to see it in IMAX 70 millimeter again, because there's nothing like that experience. So I would catch that. Doug, did you see Interstellar in IMAX?
No, I don't like the movie enough though that I would see it in theaters.
Fair enough.
Oh, one that I saw a couple days ago that I'm probably gonna go see. because Kate loves that movie. Is Mummy Returns. I saw that's getting re-released into the
Release.
Yeah, for the 25th anniversary. I didn't look into here.
Really?
Hold on, let me read the.
Yeah, I want to hear about this.
Studio announced Friday that it will re-release Mummy, the Mummy, and it's the Mummy, not Mummy Returns. Sorry, they're going to
re-release. That's the 25th anniversary. Yeah.
So they're re-releasing the Mummy at the end of April for the 25th anniversary. They have a whole trailer and stuff. And I'm not sure if it's.
See, if they did the Mummy 3, I'd probably catch that because I never saw that movie before.
Yeah,
I don't necessarily think it's supposed to be good, but
I don't think it's IMAX.
I'd be interested to see that one.
Yeah, so that's definitely one I know I'll end up going and seeing because we both love that movie. I mean, it's nostalgic. It's a great movie.
Yeah, no, it's a very fun movie. Yeah, I'm looking at the poster for the 25th anniversary now in theaters, April 26th.
I think they released a trailer too.
Yeah, no, they dropped a trailer. This slipped by me, this piece of news.
Yeah, it was just.
I feel like we're seeing new re-release news all the time. Alien, that's getting re-released for the 45th anniversary this month, later this month. Definitely going to catch that. I haven't seen that in theaters, and they're doing that both for the fact that it's the 45th anniversary and because Alien Romulus comes out in August. So as a way to generate some hype, since that teaser trailer just came out recently, and the poster and whatnot.
Okay. Ones that I hope they announce and they bring back in some capacity is all of Tarantino's movies, because there's quite a few of them that I've never seen in theaters, and I would like to see all of his movies in theaters. If they did all of them, like over the course of, however long, one a month, whatever, I would probably end up seeing all of them. But definitely like Reservoir Dogs. I'd like to see Kill Bill again. So Jackie Brown. So those I'm hoping happens eventually. I feel like it will.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you with Tarantino. I imagine before his 10th film comes out, The Movie Critic, all of them will be back in theaters. So yeah, would love to catch the few that I've not seen in theaters. His first three. Nolan, seeing his entire filmography, as I mentioned. Some of which I have seen, but Dunkirk I never caught in IMAX or IMAX 70mm. Excuse me. I just saw that in a normal 70mm version back when it was in theaters. So when that inevitably gets re-released in IMAX, I want to catch that. But then catch Insomnia, which I should have just saw in theaters back when it came out instead of watching a fucking LimeWire version at home. That was stupid in retrospect. And then if Following, I doubt we'll ever play it in theaters, but if it did,
I would
catch that. Yeah, it was just to complete the run. I mean, the rest of them I've caught in their optimal format. Because I guess it's IMAX or 35mm for each one would be the optimal format. Those are kind of the golden gooses as far as finishing filmographies. I'm trying to think of if there's any other favorite films of mine. I've seen Back to the Future, Jaws, Scream. Saw all of those on re-releases, Boogie Nights. I've seen Social Network on its first run. Just trying to think of. Since we mentioned Alien, I would love to see Aliens in theaters. The Terminator, both 1 and 2, I'd like to see in theaters for Cameron. I've seen basically all of his movies in theaters at this point. Yeah, I mean,
there's a lot.
There's a lot.
There's a lot that would get me.
Not even like that I would think that would be on my list, but like you throw it out in front of me, I'm gonna be like, okay, I'll see it.
Especially if it's
gladly.
A-list.
Yeah, exactly.
It's real easy.
Yeah. So yeah, I expect to see. I'll be very interested if by the end of the year I see more new releases or re-releases, because then next year we're gonna get back into like a state of normalcy after the dual strikes. But this year is definitely a little light. I mean, we were just talking before our episode about the movies coming out this summer, and there's not that many heavy hitters. It's kind of similar to spring. It's not till like towards the end of the year ish that things kind of pick up. And yeah, I think next year is kind of when things will be back to normal. But I hope they continue the trend. I know it's not massive moneymakers. If you throw all of their totals in combined, it's probably, I don't know, nothing special of all the ones I've seen. Probably maybe 20 million combined. Like the last re-release that made any sort of a dent was probably the Avatar re-release in 2022. But I don't know. It definitely, I think, helps get people into movie theaters that otherwise would be an empty screening of Ordinary Angels. Or I'm just throwing out a random movie that didn't perform, or Drive Away Dolls, or plenty of the other movies that we drafted. So I think they should continue it despite other movies coming out in the future, bigger movies coming out, because during the week you can always get more people in seats for something that's a one night only showing versus something that's been in theaters for weeks, and it's just one extra showing of the film. Those people will find a different time to see the film. So yeah. Anything else you guys want to talk about in regards to re-releases?
No, I think I'm good. I think we covered it. Hopefully, right. Hopefully it continues to be a trend, but we'll have to see. Yeah,
we'll know soon enough. All right. Well, then that's all we've got today regarding our main topic. Thank you again for listening. Please make sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and X. Subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc. I know if you had subscribed on Google, they've got rid of Google Podcasts, and it's now YouTube Music Podcasts, which we are on there. So yeah, like and subscribe, all that. And then if you're interested or invested in our box office pools, or just want to hear about how the films this winter or spring have been performing, stick around for some end credit chatter. We're also going to be picking our draft order for our summer box office draft, which will be the centerpiece of our next episode. So we can get into the winter or spring box office pool now. Since it's been a month since we have talked about how the box office, things have been going at the box office. Things have changed quite a bit as far as standings go, and as far as everyone's total box office and what's come out, because March was a pretty dominant month as far as franchise fare went. We had Dune Part 2, which we did get to talk about its opening weekend on our last episode, and it's continued to perform. It's after this most recent weekend, it's at 265 million. We'll see how far along it can get. Its most recent weekend was 7 million. They did announce it's going to be getting 2 more weeks in IMAX at the end of the month. I think starting on the 19th, I believe. It'll have 2 more weeks in IMAX 70 millimeter, and then in select markets in Limaxes or IMAX at AMC's. So we've had that. We had like in quick succession. Then we had Kung Fu Panda 4, Ghostbusters, Frozen Empire, Godzilla Kong. I heard the X is silent. Godzilla Kong, the New Empire.
Really?
Yes, really. And yeah, so March was kind of stacked with movies for kind of all, for the most part, all ages. I mean, Dune is probably the most adult, and it's a PG-13 rated movie. And I mean, but ultimately, it's got the same rating as Ghostbusters and Godzilla, which are definitely family fare, along with Kung Fu Panda 4, which is obviously family fare, and then younger skewing than the other three. By far the most youngest skewing. But I'm sure they had plenty of people that saw those other movies, just because people that saw Kung Fu Panda 1 when they were 10 years old are probably in their mid-20s now. When did Kung Fu Panda come out? 2011, something like that.
Yeah. I think it was 2010.
Kung Fu Panda 2008. 2008.
Oh, wow.
Well, damn, that was a long time ago.
That is crazy.
16 years ago, Kung Fu Panda came out. So if kids were 10 years old when they saw that, they're 26 now. They could be the same people going to see Doom Part 2, Godzilla, Ghostbusters, etc. And then it's going to be interesting. It's interesting that they dropped all these movies all in the same month. And then April is like only R-rated movies.
Yeah, that is weird.
Like in April, we've got Civil War, The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, Abigail, Challengers. We had The First Omen recently opened this past weekend. Monkey Man. It's like nothing but R-rated movies. And then no like PG-13 movies are coming out this month. For whatever reason, they just stacked them all up in March. I don't know if it was like hoping like for like spring break audience, like kids on spring break, whether in college or K through 12.
Makes absolutely no fucking sense.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. I really don't.
Like, especially after nothing came out in January and February for the most part. Like, what did we have?
Yeah.
That's
what people do.
We didn't have one movie cross $100 million in January, February. Bob Marley got close. Like, it's at 96 million, I want to say. Yeah, close to 97 million. Maybe they'll figure out a way to eke it to 100, but probably not. So like it was that and Mean Girls were like the only like kind of, and The Beekeeper were like the only three movies that made like any money in January and February. So like, what the fuck? What the hell were they doing?
I don't know. And it's like, that's not, I mean, I get that people are off from school, but I don't know. That's not usually what I think about when I think about spring break, is how people like flocking to the movie theaters to see.
Yeah. Like, I mean, a lot of people go on vacations.
Right.
Like, even if they're like kids, they go on family vacation.
Yeah, that's usually what you do for spring break. You're not like, so I don't know. It's kind of, to me, they just kind of like all cannibalized each other instead of letting like some of these movies breathe a little bit more.
Yeah.
But
yeah, like you're all fighting over premium screens. Like Godzilla was shot in IMAX and yet didn't get to play in a lot of IMAX screens because Dune continued to hold on to them. Ghostbusters would get like one showing in IMAX. Then Ghostbusters came out the week before Godzilla and fell super hard its second weekend. It was going to fall probably pretty hard regardless, but definitely fell harder because of Godzilla and Kong, or Godzilla Kong. The X is silent.
Yeah.
But
no, I think it was just a really bad decision making. I have no idea why everyone decided March was the month to shove all the movies into.
Yeah. Super strange in my opinion, seemingly all of our opinions.
Yeah.
But it certainly made our box office pool more interesting. Since we're now at the point where anything that comes out is kind of like a risky potential sleeper hit, where if the standings are going to change, it's going to have to be to something just being a cultural phenomenon, like, and shit like that. So we can get into the standings. Doug is now blowing everyone away. Since like,
But I'm done at this point, though.
You're done. Yeah, Doug's done. All eight of his films have come out. But I mean, once Dune Part 2 came out, it was just like off to the races. And then like you had Ghostbusters Frozen Empire come out after that. Imaginary did pretty solid for a horror movie.
Yeah, I was surprised about that.
Love Lies Bleeding did pretty solid
good, yeah.
for like a A24 niche art house type movie. That made 7 million or 8 million at this point in time. Imaginary's at 27 million. There's been a lot of horror movies, so the fact that it's got that, not bad. But yeah, Doug's at 510 million. Far away ahead in first place with, like I said, his 8 movies. So yeah, I mean, things have worked out with you with Doom Part 2, certainly. It's over half your total. Yeah, it's over half your total. Madam Web, I mean, made only 40 million, but it's 40 million I'd fucking take from him, like, compared to some of my movies, or an extra 30 that I would take. Miller's Girl.
That movie was like...
Miller's Girl, we've joked about quite a bit.
I had 3 movies that didn't even come close to that, just combined with the Disney releases.
Yeah, I mean, you could combine probably Soul Turning Red, Luca, Lisa Frankenstein, Ordinary Angels, Miller's Girl, Drive Away Dolls. All of those combined is probably Madam Web. Maybe you take Ordinary Angels out, and you can shove in Love Lies Bleeding instead. Yeah, or let's say you could take The Beekeeper. You can probably add 2 more movies that we drafted, maybe even 3 more movies, and it only made like 65 million. I might have just thrown that number out of nowhere. Let me see what Beekeeper's actually made. I feel like it's like kind of close to that.
Beekeeper was it was like a sleeper.
Yeah, it's 66 million. Okay.
Made a good amount of money.
Yeah, like Beekeeper probably made as much as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 8 to 10 movies that we drafted.
That's crazy.
And it was only 66 million. Like, that's fucking, it's ridiculous. Like, you either are...
Beekeeper made $152 million worldwide.
Yeah, I mean...
I didn't realize there was like a worldwide audience for that.
Yeah, if you take worldwide audience in account and compare with our domestic numbers, it's basically every movie with the exception of Mean Girls, Dune, Ghostbusters, Godzilla, and Bob Marley.
It made $86.5 million internationally. What the fuck?
Yeah, and Corey got that like with his last pick in the draft. I really wish I drafted that over some of my movies that only made like $10 million. But
I'm trying to figure out where all the money came from.
Who is seeing? What countries are seeing this film?
I mean, 4 million came out of UK, 3.5 Mexico.
I was gonna say, I mean, the UK, they love Jason Statham over there.
Sweden had 2.4, Netherlands 2.9, Italy 2 million, Germany had $8.4 million.
They care about the hives being protected.
I guess Statham. It doesn't matter for our pool, which is domestic, big draw. But I guess Statham is like a worldwide draw that I never realized.
Yeah, it would appear to be that way. But yeah, I mean, it was way above expectations for him. I imagine if you look at Jason Statham's domestic films, this might be his like highest, where he's the lone person above the title. Maybe not adjusted for inflation, but if you compare it to like the Transporter movies and the Crank movies and all these various other ones, I imagine the only movies he's made that have made more are the ones where he's in large ensembles, like Fast and Furious and Expendables and
before the Expendables went off the
the Italian Job and things like that. Yeah, exactly. Before Expendables, like, it fucking murdered Expendables 4. Yeah, that was a shocker. But I'm in second place at the moment with 336 million. Since our last one, I've had like 3 movies come out so far. Arthur the King, that one disappointing dog movie with only 22 million. Godzilla Kong, which has far exceeded my expectations, having already grossed 135 million as of this past weekend, and that's still got. I mean, it had a big dip at second weekend, 61%, but when you gross 80 million on your opening weekend, I'll take it. So that'll continue to make some money for me. Should top Kung Fu Panda 4 to end up being the second biggest film of the season. And then The First Omen, which if I knew there was going to be a fucking movie exactly the same that came out like 2 weeks earlier with Immaculate with Sydney Sweeney, I would not have drafted The First Omen.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's 2 movies that look so similar.
Very.
And First Omen's shockingly got good reviews, but no one fucking saw it. I mean, it's made more. It's gonna probably make more than Immaculate, but still, actually, it probably won't. It's made 8 million its opening weekend. I think Immaculate made like 5 million its opening weekend, but Immaculate had some solid legs to it. That's at 14 now. I kind of doubt First Omen makes it to 14 million. It's 14 and counting. So, real disappointing. Good for Immaculate though, and good for Sydney Sweeney. But yeah, all I've got left is Civil War. So I basically need this to be some sort of a cultural fucking stick of dynamite that just creates some sort of culture war, and everyone fucking has to see it to discuss it in order for me to have any shot of winning.
That sounds like a realistic scenario.
Yeah,
so you need.
I need it to be fucking American Sniper, like something like.
I was gonna say Sound of Freedom, or is that the movie?
Yeah, I need it to be a Sound of Freedom and American Sniper, something like that. Which it's unfortunately not going to be.
It could be the next like Barbenheimer. What else comes out near Civil War?
Yeah, and nothing else comes out this weekend, to my knowledge. Yeah. So this is disappointing. I'll probably get to 400 plus, but yeah, Doug, you're at 510. Argyle was a fucking bad number 1 pick for me. Had I picked, we had texted recently. I should have picked Kung Fu Panda, but then I don't know if I would have got Godzilla in the next round, and then everything would have changed from that point. I don't know if I would have gotten Bob Marley. Doug had a very solid advantage from the start with getting Doom Part 2. I don't know if this is going to be a big hit.
Yeah, we told you that it was going to be.
I was like, it's fucking money. Like, it's guaranteed.
It is.
Yeah. Although, I'm still beatable. I still, didn't capitalize on it like I could have.
But you had such a good top 3. Like, you couldn't have done better. You couldn't have done better with what you... than getting that Ghostbusters and Mean Girls. Like, you took the right movie that was available each time.
But after
you could have taken Bob Marley instead of Mean Girls.
That's true. I just didn't.
But at the time,
after Whitney hit Houston screwed me over with that documentary, I was just like, I'm not doing that again.
If I was in your position, I would have taken Mean Girls. I was the pick right after you. I would if it was between the two, I would have taken Mean Girls. Funny enough, I mean, Ghostbusters could end up. It should top 100 million.
It's gonna be close.
It won't get much more. We didn't really talk about Ghostbusters when talking about yours, but hit but disappointing, and we're probably not getting a third entry based on its grosses. So I mean, I enjoy this. Like, this franchise. Like, I'd be gladly see another one, but I don't think it's happening. Based on what it made. And then
there's Corey, who's
and then we've
the
got
biggest threat to me right now.
Corey, yeah. Somehow he's had 3 movies combined that have made less than $3 million, and he's still in it. And he's practically 300 million behind Doug, yet he's still in it. Because Doug, you got another 20, you've got probably another 30 million in the tank with Doom Part 2, Imaginary Love Slide Fleeting, and Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. But yeah, Corey still has the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, Abigail, and Challengers. None of them have to be smashes. If they all make $100 million, it's a fucking tie between you two.
Yeah, I'm a little worried.
Understandably.
Yeah. Like, I'd rather be in where I am right now than where Corey is, but I'm not.
Yeah,
I don't feel comfortable with where, like, Corey. I'm hoping. I'm worried. I'm the most worried about Challengers, to be honest.
It's gonna be interesting.
I'm telling you, that movie's gonna be big.
Zendaya's never been the face of a theatrical release before.
Yeah.
Been the name above the title. Like, her name's been above it, but as a co-star, her biggest, like, she's at streaming movies, she's at cable TV movies, like Disney Channel movies, and I guess like shit like that, and Netflix movies. But I mean, her biggest thing where she's the face is a TV show, is Euphoria. Otherwise, it's franchise fare where she's a supporting character, like Spider-Man and Dune. She's undeniably fucking famous and a superstar, but we don't know what she's going to do as a draw. We don't know if she's a draw. We're kind of finding out that Sydney Sweeney's a draw, based on. It's not, well, I mean, I guess it's out of nowhere in the fact that she wasn't in any franchises, but like, she's on Euphoria. A lot of the actors on Euphoria are breaking out. Jacob Elordi, etc. Zendaya, Sydney Sweeney, Hunter Schafer potentially, and some others. But yeah, we don't know about Challengers. It could just fucking. I mean, it was Corey's number 1 pick. It could break it, or maybe it was your number 2. Kung Fu Panda was your number 1, or vice. It was. No, they were back to back. So
Challengers and Kung Fu Panda, I think, is what I did. I think
that's what I think you did also. Either way, it doesn't matter because they were back to back. So I mean, Kung Fu Panda was a massive hit for you. You got 166 million. It's the second biggest in the franchise. Nice rebound after the last 2 that each had decreasing grosses from the original. Still making some money. So Kung Fu Panda 4, very solid pick. Beekeeper, we've talked about, well above expectations. But yeah, you had the 3 Pixar movies, which really didn't do anything. And yet, you're fucking still in it. It's pretty nuts. I mean, you're 100-something million behind me. We'll see where I end up with my 1 movie left. And like we said, about 300 behind Doug. But, I mean, you could potentially win.
And Challengers comes out right at the very end of April, right? Last week?
Yes.
Last week of April. So that, yeah.
Yeah, it's hilarious. Like I have Civil War coming out this weekend, and then you've got nothing this weekend. We're going to be in the middle of April. April 19th, you've got the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare and Abigail coming out, and then April 26th, you got Challengers coming out.
Yep.
So, I mean, this shit could potentially be going until mid-May till we find out, or like late May till we know what our winner is.
I mean, the opening
weekend of Challengers.
The opening weekend will tell us a lot.
I mean, the opening weekend of each movie will tell it less. We'll make it more and more apparent whether this thing is going to spread out. But hey, maybe Civil War is going to have a 90 million opening weekend out of nowhere. Everyone's just going to go buy their tickets at the window, and I'm somehow still in this, but I doubt it. So yeah, I think this is likely a competition between the 2 of you at this point. oh well for me yet again. I had a nice five win streak, and then now we're approaching a potential fourth time in a row in last place. Hopefully, I can get at least second place this time, but we'll see. I'm not counting on it because yeah, all of your movies, Corey, look like they have potential to them. They all look like crowd pleasers to a degree, and different. They kind of target different demos. So yeah, we'll be talking about it. We'll be doing our next episode in 2 weeks. So when that happens, Civil War will have come out, as will everything except for Challengers will have come out. So it's going to be like a down to the wire update with where we are before the final film is released, and how high that hill is that Corey's going to have to climb.
It's a big hill.
Still going to be possible at that point. So yeah. Anything else? Did any of you guys see any of these new releases and have any thoughts about any of them that you wanted to mention?
No, I don't think so. A lot of these I didn't get a chance to catch in theaters. First Omen I definitely want to see. Civil War I think we're going on Friday, so we're going to see that. Ghostbusters I didn't catch. Another one that I just missed. Dune Part 2 is like one of the only ones. Oh, well, I watched Madam Web, but I didn't. I watched it on digital, on VOD. So there's a few of this list that I do want to watch, but I didn't catch them in theaters. So
yeah, I've seen 13 of these. I mean, 3 of them were Pixar re-releases, so it was like 10 actual new films. But I mean, the best one I saw was Love Lies Bleeding.
Yeah, that's
that
one
one
I see too.
I would
told you guys the trailer looked good. So.
highly recommend. Very original, surrealist at points.
Just another movie where I was like, this is gonna be good, and I pick it. But I called it. I was like, this is a movie I want to see, but no one else is probably going to see it.
You did say that. Yeah, I was thinking you were talking about Civil War at the time. I remember before you draft, or you were like, it's a movie that I think looks good.
Yeah, I wish I had taken Civil War.
I don't know if it'll actually do good or something like that. But
yeah, I should have been talking about Civil War, but I was not.
Yeah, Ghostbusters I thought was better than Afterlife. I don't know why it got like shit on as much as it did.
That movie, it seems like, it depends on what you were looking for from that franchise. If you're looking for the nostalgia, then you loved it. If not, then you kind of shit on it.
Oh, and I lied. Dune Part 2 is the best of the year, but Love Lies Bleeding is my second favorite of the year so far. And I did actually just catch Godzilla and Kong. Godzilla Kong, the New Empire, and it was dumb fun. I thought it was better than the Versus one, and probably the best outside of Skull Island. So really, the ones that focus on Kong are the ones I enjoy in this series. I just don't think America does Godzilla well at all.
No.
And Godzilla -1 proved, because that movie is fucking amazing, and better than all of these MonsterVerse movies, whether they're Kong or Godzilla. So yeah, just to give people some recs on what to see, what not to see. But I don't think any of them that I saw were stinkers. I mean, Madam Web isn't a good movie, but I enjoyed it for what it was.
Drive Away Dolls didn't hit for me.
Oh yeah, you did catch that on video.
Yeah, that one did not. It didn't hit for me, which I was actually really surprised. It didn't. I thought that was going to be a winner.
Yeah, I like that one as a goofy Coen comedy. And I like the lead performances. Lisa Frankenstein wasn't very good. That was disappointing. But otherwise, or I saw Ordinary Angels. That was good. Arthur the King. I saw that was good.
Bob Marley's on VOD. That's one that I definitely want to watch.
Did not see Bob Marley. I didn't see Miller's Girl. Mean Girls was fun as a musical, and yeah, the fucking movie I drafted first, I didn't even bother to see. My second biggest movie, I didn't even bother to see. I had no interest in seeing. I had a weird draft strategy, which clearly didn't work, but oh well.
Back to the drawing board.
Exactly. We got the summer draft coming up in 2 weeks, so we'll see how that pans out. But let's do our draft order for the summer right now. So we'll give some people a heads up for our summer draft. We are going to have a special rule for this one. I don't know what would you call? I guess a rule.
Stipulation.
Stipulation. We have one stipulation for our summer draft because we all agree that there is one film that is going to far and away be the number one film of the summer. What we're going to do with that film is we're going to split its gross in half towards that person's box office total. So that movie is Deadpool and Wolverine. So let's say Deadpool and Wolverine grosses $800 million, similar to Spider-Man No Way Home. It would only count as $400 million for the person that drafts it. If it grosses $600 million, it would be $300 million. If it only grosses $400 million, it's $200 million. So it could be a risky pick. What we wanted to do is keep this a little more competitive because we don't expect anything it's a fairly weak summer because of the dual strikes and everything like that. The people spreading out the films coming out next year, and just things not being able to get done in time. So we looked at all the films, and what we ultimately expect, like the next crop of them to max out at. And we were like, okay, best case scenario for Deadpool, this is what we think could work for if it was cut in half. So that's what the stipulation is going to be. We'll see how that impacts who drafts it. But let's find out what the order is now. I have a draft order randomizer in front of me. At the moment, I have the names based on who won our most recent pool. In that order. So the order of the names are, before I press the generate draft order button, are Doug, Corey, and Murph. I'm going to press the button now, and that will tell us who is number 1, number 2, and number 3. So let's see what we got. All right. Would you guys like me to start with who has the number 3 pick or the number 1 pick?
3.
Go 3, 2, 1.
All right. Number 3 is Corey. Number 2 is Doug. And number 1 is Murph.
Wow. You're ruining Doug's strategy, Murph.
No, I'm making I'm making him have to think about what his strategy is.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what I'm drafting at number 1.
Yeah.
But yeah, Doug absolutely knew what he was taking, while I am less certain.
And I'm getting the scraps.
No, you're in the fucking good. I like being in the number 3s. I think being in number 3 is pretty solid.
It depends on the draft. I think for the drafts that we've had this year, it's been helpful because it's been so unpredictable and like the movies haven't been, it hasn't been a great set of movies to pick from. So yes, I agree.
Right,
so yeah,
I know what my backup pick would have to be. So now just the question is,
Haven't I been 3 for like the past at least 2 drafts? I feel like I have.
We'd have to go back and see.
I was 3 this one.
I botched last summer by doing Indiana Jones when I was number 1. Corey, I think you were number 2 that in the summer. Yeah, you were number 2 in the summer. I'm trying to think of what you were in the fall. What did everyone take in the fall?
Like, I don't remember what even came out in the fall.
Yeah, I don't remember.
We all were all hesitant on what to take because of the strikes. It's like the big movies.
So that's the one I won because you guys are all too hesitant about everything.
Yeah, I was a little fucking pussy with what I selected. And did so bad as a result.
I know I took Wish pretty early in that.
Oh yes.
And you took Migration.
Yeah, it was the Wish Migration back-to-back one, wasn't it?
And the Marvels was one of them.
Yeah, I got a Marvels. The middle of the second round.
I don't even remember what I picked.
So Corey was 3. Corey was 3, but I don't remember what he picked.
I can't even.
I think I picked Wish, right? Number 1.
Yeah, you picked Wish. I picked Migration. What the fuck did Corey pick?
I don't even remember.
Was there a re-release?
This is gonna bug me, so I'm gonna have to go back and look at an older episode just from the fall and see what movies.
One day, a re-release that I pick is gonna
circling back to our main topic, because Corey loves picking the re-releases in the drafts. It was the fuck was it? Oh, it was Killers of the Flower Moon. That Corey picked first. And no, it was Hunger Games and Killers of the Flower Moon in that order.
Hunger Games did well.
Hunger Games worked out. Killers of the Flower Moon did not.
Yeah.
And Doug got his first win from that one. Get his second one. So Corey, this is your 3rd in a row, right? Being the 3rd pick.
That's what I thought. I thought it was 2, but I guess 3.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely in the fall, and it was 3 for the spring, and now it's spring 3 for summer. I've been moving between. I've been 2 a lot of these times, I think. I was 2 in the fall. 2. Yeah, we had the same exact draft order for fall, and winter, spring. We're back to now the order of, well, slightly different than last summer. For me and Corey. No, nothing's the same. I don't know. I don't know the last time we've had this exact draft order. It's been a long time. But all right, we'll do some prognosticating individually over the next 2 weeks and do our draft. It'll be another fun one. I'm looking forward to starting anew, unless Civil War fucking kills it this weekend. Go Civil War. Just not in real life, just in the movies. But as always, this has been Corey, Doug, and Murph at Live Breathe Film. We'll see you again next time, film fans.
Bye.